Robert took Yahrzeits very seriously. He took anniversary of deaths very seriously. For his mother, which was in the summer, his father, who was on the last day of Pesach, that's Irving Bloom. His mother, by the way, Ethel Bloom. And I didn't really know that much about them. Karen Blonder was kind enough to tell me a lot about them. They were wonderful, wonderful people, and I appreciate you telling me a lot about them. He also commemorated the Yahrzeit of his dear friend, Sarah Wilbur. All four of those people, including Robert, have plaques here in our congregation. You'll see that on the video that Daniel is going to play later. So what Robert would do for the Yahrzeits, naturally, he would, what he would do is he would obviously lead services. He would say some words of Torah, sacred words from a sacred text. And of course, he would talk about baseball. That certainly was one of the prerequisites that was very important. That's why we're all here in baseball caps, including my wife, Adina, celebrating. David Blonder, that was your idea. It was a great idea. So just a couple of words. Robert shares a Yahrzeit with one of the greatest rabbis of the 21st century, well, the 20th century, really, because he died in 1993 on Pesach on this day. And I'm talking about Rabbi Joseph B. Soloveitchik. Rabbi Soloveitchik was my father's Rebbe. He was my Rebbe's Rebbe. He was known as the Rav. He was the chief rabbi of modern Orthodoxy. And he had a lot of interesting insights on the Torah. And I'm going to share one of them with you. So we are now in the beginning of Chol HaMoed. We're in the middle of Chol HaMoed, Pesach. We're in the intermediate days of the Passover holiday. Here in the diaspora outside of Israel, the first 2 days and the last 2 days of the 8-day holiday are treated as sacred. But then you have the intermediate days that are Chol HaMoed. In other words, it is a festival, but is also a regular weekdays. As we say in Yiddish, it's nishtahim, nishtaher, neither here, neither there. And the question is, what are you permitted to do on Chol HaMoed, and what are you not permitted to do on Chol HaMoed? So let me just share with you one thought. So, and something, a rule that Rabbi Soloveitchik explained very, very well. This was Rabbi Soloveitchik, by the way. All right, so here goes. One is generally permitted to work during these days if they have to. There are certain things, however, that are a bit gray. Is one permitted to take a haircut? Well, question is, we should all have that problem. I know some of you don't have the problem with taking haircuts anymore, right? But the question is, are you permitted to take a haircut on during the intermediate days of Pesach? So the conventional wisdom, if you look at the tractate Moed Katan, a tractate of the Talmud, you'll see that you're really not supposed to do that during the intermediate days. Why? Why aren't you permitted to do it? You're not permitted to do it because the rabbis were afraid that if they permitted you to do it during the festival, you'll go into the festival looking like some kind of schlemazel, unkempt. You know that you will, you won't look your best for the festival. Why? Because you'll say, you know what, I don't have to get a haircut before the festival. I'll go during the intermediate days because I'm so busy preparing for the festival. We have to put away the chametz and we have to bake matzah, etc. So the rabbis didn't want that to happen. The question then is, in the times of the Talmud, you did not have shavers. You didn't have shavers to shave your face. So would shaving, something which some people are accustomed to do every day, would that be permissible during the intermediate days of Pesach or the intermediate days of Sukkot for that matter? Many authorities said, no, it's the same as the hair. However, Rabbi Soloveitchik, in his brilliance, said something else. He said, we always have to view the Torah and the Talmud in light of today. And one of the realities of today is that many people do shave every day. And therefore, since that is a fact of life today, that people shave every day, during the intermediate days, it would be a mitzvah, it would be incumbent upon a male to shave during Chol HaMoed, because it's in keeping with the spirit of the tractate of the Talmud, which says that on the holiday you should look your best. And therefore, Rabbi Soloveitchik differed with many rabbis and said that it is in fact a mitzvah to shave on Chol HaMoed, and you could do that. So I hope I shared with you that piece of Torah, which will inspire you to living more productively. And Robert was someone, I want to tell you, who always liked to study those kinds of things. He believed very strongly in halakha, in Jewish law. And at the same time, he believed that Jewish law should always be applied to modern living. And I think that's a perfect example of a teaching which says that really articulates that very principle. So I just wanted to share that with you. So I thank you for your indulgence. And at this time, we are going to hear some words. We're going to hear some words, hear some music, see a video. But I first want to call upon family members. I want to first call upon someone who's become a good friend, David Blonder. David was Robert's cousin. He looked after Robert for many years. He was a very good cousin to him. And I just want to say about my personal experience. Last year, when Robert unfortunately passed away, you know, it was something which was sudden. We were very shocked by it. And in that spirit, I want to say to everyone who has lost loved ones as a result of COVID, our sympathies to you, our profoundest condolences to you as well. When we contacted Daniel, Weiss, myself, contacted David, naturally, like everyone who loved Robert, he was in disbelief, he was in shock. And at the same time, he was of enormous assistance. He helped us to bury Robert the way Robert wanted to be buried, according to Jewish law and according to the Jewish rituals and traditions. It was not an easy thing to do last year because it was we were in the midst of a terrible pandemic. It had just started and lots of people did not know, what was going on. But he did a wonderful job. We become good friends. And it's a shame, by the way, that the friendship, it was as a function of Robert's passing. But nevertheless, I just want to say that I feel very blessed to know David Blonder. And I want to give him the opportunity now to say some words in loving memory of Robert, et cetera. Go right ahead, Dave.
Thank you, Rabbi. Hello, everyone. My name is David Blonder. I am a cousin of Robert's, and we have some other cousins on the phone, on the line as well. It's true. We're coming up on a year since Robert's sudden passing. It was very unexpected, sad, avoidable, in my view. But really something good came out of that tragedy. I think my family and I learned about aspects of Robert's life that we had really only heard about anecdotally. The first, being you, Rabbi Segal, I know that he was very devoted to Kehilat Moshe synagogue, and you had him at your house for Passover and regularly during the holidays. And I think you did that just in your role as a rabbi and took him in without expectation. And I think that speaks volumes about the type of person that you are and the type of congregation that you run. That night, when it happened, when Robert passed, I first met Daniel Weiss, and then subsequently Andrew Newman, and really both these gentlemen, including Rabbi Segal, played a tremendous role to accomplish things that I didn't think were really going to happen, given the situation at that time. It was very uncertain. He helped to make the funeral, helped me with the funeral arrangements. Robert passed on a Sunday. He was then buried with his parents, the Friday following. and really you were instrumental in ensuring that we were able to give Robert a proper burial with his parents, Irving and Ethel, who are very dear to our family. Daniel was there, real time while this was going on, and he really helped in a time of crisis, helped with the funeral, made all the arrangements so that at the time we could only attend by Zoom. Andrew Newman, Robert had 2 cats at the time, and the New York Police Department wanted to seal the home, and we convinced them to leave it open so we could get the cats out, and Andrew would go back and visit regularly and leave food and bait them. And I'm happy to report that both those cats were adopted together, and have a loving home with some young women who live together in Brooklyn. Robert, Robert and I, I'll be honest, we had a very complicated relationship. I, assisted him in managing a lot of his finances after his father passed away. He was an educated, well-educated man, a man of leisure, but a smart man. He had a master's degree in meteorology. He was intelligent, could carry on discussions around politics. Even when there was disagreement, he was a music lover, attended concerts, always was listening to radio programs, reading newspapers, but really sports was his passion. And I was always amazed at how he would be interested in any sport. He didn't really like professional sports. He really liked college. He attended professional sports, but he did. He would travel up and down the East Coast and see sporting events. And the thing is that sometimes when our loved ones pass, we learn about a side of them that we didn't know about existed, and sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's bad. And in Robert's case, it was good. I learned that Robert had a real strong community of friends. His what I called his sports posse, his buddies who he would go to Cyclones games and other games with, and I know that he enjoyed being a part of this community here. And for that, we are grateful to you and to your congregation for embracing him, your community, and accepting him. And I know that he would have been pleased and humbled by this memorial. And our thanks go out to everyone who was here, and particularly to Daniel and Andrew and Rabbi Segal for their friendship. And so I just want to say thank you. And if there are any other family members who want to say something, feel free. You're not obligated to do so. But in any event, this is a nice tribute to him. And I want to thank you for putting it together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the beautiful, beautiful words. Very nice, heartfelt tribute. I know, Karen, would you like to continue? Go ahead.
Okay. David has said a lot of things that I was going to say. Robert was our youngest cousin. David took care of his financial. I supervised his medical. Had been speaking to him the week when he became ill, encouraging him to seek medical attention, etc. And so his death was a real shock, and it was very, very sudden. We are in Poughkeepsie. David is in Washington. And if it wasn't for the help and guidance of Rabbi Segal, Andrew, and Daniel, the things that David mentioned, never could have been accomplished. What comforted us was that he had a group of friends. We found out, as David mentioned, that he had a whole community. We had heard about Rabbi Segal inviting him into his home for holidays, for which we were very thankful. And it was very important that Robert was able to be buried with his parents in the way that he and his parents would have wanted it to be. It was at a time when thousands of people were dying every day. Bodies were being put into vans in New York City. And we were so grateful that this did not have to happen in our family. We're a close family. We've always looked out for each other. And so for us, this was really a blessing that he could be buried in the appropriate way. Can't thank Rabbi Segal, Daniel, and Andrew for all the things that they did in bringing him into your family, into community, and helping us, people you did not even know. And I can't express how grateful we are for all you have done. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Beautiful words. Let me just go. Maddie or Madeline, did you want to say something? Hold on.
I think whatever my dad had to say perfectly, both my grandmother and my father had perfect things to say. And I can't believe it's been a year, but thank you for everyone's help.
He has an exam in a few minutes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to just say to you, I do remember him sitting at our table a number of times. He did mention you, by the way, and I know he was very proud of you. So keep up your good work.
Thank you.
Sure, sure. Let's go back to the gallery view. Okay. Okay. So we're going back. Are there any other members of the family who would like to say something? And family members, specifically family members?
Feel free to unmute before you talk.
Make sure to unmute yourself before you talk.
Absolutely. Unmute before you talk. Any family members? All right. If there are, we're going to come back. I want to, there's a couple of people from our congregation. You know, Robert did not live that close to our congregation, although he walked many, many times. But from the events that we would have, especially the late night events, there were always those who would take him home. And I actually, before I introduce the next gentleman, I have to tell you a funny story, but it's actually a secret. Where am I, by the way?
I don't see you. That's
All
why
right.
I said speaker. Well, I don't know.
All right, just give me a second. Just give me a second. I'll
goes, but whatever.
Right. I'll just tell you just a
How do we, let's see how you fix this. We're sorry for our Zoom incompetence.
Sorry about that.
No,
Yeah.
not remove. We don't
No. You. Okay. I'll tell you just a quick story. The last time we gathered when Robert was here, that is, was last Purim. That was in March. And I had actually agreed to take him back. It was quite late. Purim is the joyous holiday that we have. We get dressed up, and it was a very exciting time. That was, shortly before his passing. And he was quite exhausted, understandably. It was very late. And it just so happens to be that somebody was blocking my driveway. And I said, uh-oh, I don't know what we're going to do. Oh, that's right. Daniel said it was also right after his birthday. That's right. His birthday was in March, right? March 5th. That's right. March 5th. That's right.
Wow.
So it was shortly after his birthday. And there was someone blocking my driveway, and we had to figure out what to do. And Robert said, I'm very good at math. Not me. I was never good at math. Robert was very good at math. And he said, I can figure out exactly how is if you go on the sidewalk, how you'll be able to go between those two cars and sneak out, and then and that's exactly what happened. But nobody's supposed to know about that. So we were able to do that. He was very good at math. He applied many skills that he had to many different situations. So I just wanted to tell that story. So there were a number of people who used to take him home and who got to meet him. One of them from our congregation is someone by the name of Isaac Grossman. I want to introduce him now to speak to you for just a couple of moments. Okay, just gallery view. Okay, Isaac, are you there? You got to unmute.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me here tonight.
Sure.
And as everyone else said, Robert is sorely missed by our congregation. He was definitely a huge part of who we were, and we miss him very much. I definitely enjoyed all the talks that we had. He was an expert at weather, let me tell you. And he used that, and it didn't make a difference because he came. Even in bad weather, he showed up. And let me tell you, he knew what the weather was going to be, and he showed up anyway. One thing I can say about Robert, there's a saying, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for everything. We knew what Robert stood for, always. He was such a deep and committed part of our community and our congregation, and it's an inspiration, really, the amount of times that he just showed up. He just kept showing up, and that's really what he stood for. When it came to baseball and the minor leagues, that was him. I think that in a nutshell, if you want to say who was Robert, he was a traditional man, extremely traditional, and you couldn't sell him on complications or fancy major league things. He didn't care about that. Show me the game and make it a traditional one. I think that's Robert, and he will be missed by all. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And by the way, Adina just said, you want to just...
Oh, no, and when you went to a game with him, he would make sure to keep his own score on his own scoreboard. So.
Very, very much so. But beautiful words. Thank you for that. I'm just going to, before the next speaker, and we're going to hear from several people who used to go to bowl games with, no, not several, just a few. I'm just wanted to play something here. And that is, here we go. Okay, I'm going to go back, share screen. And that is, okay, hope you can all hear this. I think this is very appropriate.
Please, fellas, we need you. Kelly, the baseball game, knew the all their names. You could see her there every day, shout hooray when they played. Her boyfriend by the name of Joe said, to Coney Isle, dear, we'll go. Then Nellie started to fret and pout, and to him I heard her shout, hey, take me out to the ball game, take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back. Let me root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. 'Cause it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game.
Okay, so I'm sure. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. That real, we're trying to do a tribute to Robert right to a T. So without further ado, one of his ball game friends, you try to find him here, was Michael Pam. Mike, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Good. Let me try to get you to the screen.
I'm on it. I see myself right there.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. All
I
right.
remember seeing Robert Bloom, not at the Cyclones. I've seen him at Rangers games. I've seen him at Islander games. I've seen him at hockey games. Great guy to talk to. He was such a great guy. I used to see him between periods at the hockey games and before games. And, he was a very, very great guy. Talked about baseball, talked about hockey, talked about any sport he wanted. And I will never forget, when I started going to Kehilat Moshe, he always gave Oreo cookies. And he was very, very great guy. I always used to talk to him even after the services. Used to talk about sporting events. He was a really great guy. And what could I say? He was such a great guy. Talked about baseball and hockey and any other sporting events. I remember he used to say, "Well, I'm going to Philadelphia for a lacrosse game." He used to say that. I remember so many times he said, "I'm going to a lacrosse game. I'm going to a college basketball game." He was a lot of times at sports, and I'm a lot of times at sports too. And he was really, honestly, one of the nicest guys that talked about baseball and hockey and any other sporting event he liked and he watched.
Beautiful words. Thank you, Michael.
He was a very, very nice guy. That's why I'm wearing a Rangers jersey, because I used to see him between periods or at a hockey game somewhere, and I'm wearing the Cyclones because I've seen him at the Cyclones games.
Oh, those Cyclones games were something. But I'm with the Staten Island Yankees. I'm a big Yankee fan.
Yeah,
which
I've seen him at Staten Island too. I've seen him there too.
Yeah, but he went to the Staten Island Yankee game. He was always, even if he disagreed with the team, he was still there.
Yeah, he liked Hudson Valley Renegades.
Absolutely, and you were there too. I remember. By the way, this shirt is from the Delaware Blue Rocks. I went with Daniel and Robert that time. You remember that, Daniel? I'm sure you do. It was quite a
Yes, I do. The Wilmington Blue. See, Robert, when he would go to the Staten Island Yankees, always went to see the other team. So it would have to be the Cyclones, Lowell, Hudson Valley, and interesting. Just one thing I'm going to say. He told that car story. I actually find that impressive because Robert did not drive. Never been behind the wheel of a car. So he was able to figure all that out for someone who didn't drive. That's very impressive.
Absolutely.
I'm not surprised to hear that he went to see the other team and not the team. And Rabbi, you're a brave man for taking driving advice from Robert.
Yeah, it was only on rare occasions. He got me a good time. I was tired, so it was rare occasions. But he gave good advice on other things. It was good. It was good. All right, I just want to mention also, by the way, someone who is part of his extended family, Martin Wilbur, is here this evening. I want to acknowledge him. Martin is Sarah's sister.
That's brother.
Excuse me, Sarah's brother. I apologize. It's Sarah's brother. And Robert, very friendly with him. He went to ball games with Martin, I know, which was very nice. I think I was at a couple of them also. You were there with Robert, and certainly a very meaningful relationship. We're going to go on. We have a couple of more people to speak before we show the video. I just want to mention, by the way, to everyone, if you're interested in making a donation in memory of Robert, you can go to kehilatmoshe.org. There's a donate button there. Let me just put that on the chat. Now, I know also this is someone Robert spoke about many times. Mark Talkofsky, you there, Mark?
I'm here.
Good. Let me just see if we could see you. Oh, great. You want to take it away? We'll try to get you onto the main screen here. So,
definitely. Thank you, Rabbi Segal, for hosting this tonight, and Daniel for putting this all together as well. Robert and I had a very unique relationship. Yeah, we were many years apart. He was born, I think, in 1949, and I was born in 1993. So, we were different in age, but we had so much in common for two guys that were very much different in age. We both have the passion for radio. I don't know if you guys knew, Robert loved carrying his radio every place. And so what would happen is Robert taught me different radio stations that I didn't even know about. Like his favorite team is the Washington Nationals in baseball. So you could actually pick up the Washington Nationals station in Brooklyn on the AM dial of 1500, which is the federal, I think the federal government workers radio station. So we used to listen to that together, going to different games. He would be actually sometimes if he couldn't listen to the game on the radio, he'd actually, and I never had thought of this, he would take his tape recorder and start taping the radio. Like, how like you would tape something on TV, you would actually tape stuff on the radio. So Robert taught me a lot about that. Another thing, Robert was a guy, if I was having an issue, a lot of times we would talk maybe until, I'd say, 2 o'clock in the morning. And how many people want to stay up that late and talk to guys until 2 o'clock in the morning? I want to thank Robert also for being very, very helpful in that when I was down or whether he was down. Also, Robert and I had a lot in common in the sense of my parents have hearing impairment. Robert had mentioned one or two of his parents had a hearing impairment. So we used to bond on that, and that we used to talk about the challenges that our parents both had, in terms of the hearing impairment. One quirk about Robert is that he always liked to carry his letter opener wherever he went. He always liked to carry his letter opener, and so a lot of times he would have to if I didn't drive to the game, because I drive, so a lot of times he would have to take his letter opener and you have to hide it in a bush so that they could get it back in the game, because obviously they would confiscate that. But actually, one time we went to Yankee Stadium and they were playing Tampa in that game, and I think somebody hit 3 home runs that game. I think it was a former Met, and they actually ended up confiscating the letter opener. He wasn't able to get it back that game. So a lot of good memories. I got such a list here. I remember in 2020 we went on my birthday to Boston. Now the unique story about that is the last time Robert said he went to Boston was the day that I was born. So the unique connection of Robert and I going to Boston, and I actually helped him get a hotel room. Robert wasn't technically savvy, let's say. He had a smartphone in the end, but Daniel and myself would also help Robert buy tickets and do different things to help Robert attend games. And a lot of times I would tell Robert I would want to go to a game that he was interested to, and Robert would be kind enough to accompany me to games that he wasn't interested. For one game would be example, Robert didn't like college basketball too much, but I told him one time we could do a triple header in Philadelphia. So it would be the Islanders, Flyers during the day. Then during the middle of the day was a game at the famed Palestra, the UPenn Palestra. So we saw the Ivy League championship game. The winner would go to the March Madness tournament, and then the end cap was the NBA Philadelphia 76ers. So there was that. He had a great personality to be around. Positive kind of guy. Final thing I'll touch on with is every time we go on a road trip, okay? Because we went to so many places. We went to Boston. We went to Philadelphia. We went to the Lehigh Valley. Robert wrote down everything. Robert would write down temperatures of road, like, when you could see the bank on the side of the road, he would write down the temperature. He would, if Daniel knows this, if he got in a quarter of a game that we picked up on the radio, he would score a quarter of the game, put it in his scorecard. So there's a lot to say about Robert. I wish I had a lot more time to tell everybody, but Robert was an amazing guy. He's missed very much so, and I'm glad we could have this today to talk a lot about Robert and what a great person he was.
Beautiful. Thank you. He spoke about you many, many times.
Thank you.
I just want to tell you, we're going to have Daniel is now his very, very dear friend. Daniel is going to say some words. He's going to show us a wonderful video you're not going to want to miss. After the video, I'm also going to show you some of Robert's was, I think, either shortly before his passing,
2019,
or it was 2019. He had given us a number of Haggadot. These are the things we use for Passover to tell the Passover story. And he had some very interesting books. And I want to show you some of Robert's collection from his very favorite holiday. Passover was his favorite holiday. And I'm even going to reveal to you what his favorite Passover song was as well. So go ahead, Daniel, please go right ahead.
Okay. And before I do actually start my speech, there is one other person who I feel has been a bit overlooked this, and it's actually my father, because he was also very helpful that day, even though he couldn't really leave Manhattan. At 28 and a half years old, not something I want to have to actually handle a lot, and he was very, very helpful at. Also, I do want to thank Andrew, because it was, to me, like, that was really the height of the pandemic, and Robert's zip code was like the worst of the zip codes in Brooklyn, and I do thank Andrew for wanting to leave his house when a lot of people probably were not going to want to do it. So as for my speech, it's a little long, so I'm going to trim it down. So I met Robert at a New Jersey Nets game when they moved to Newark, because it was a more centrally located arena. I saw him at the post-game radio show, and I decided to, as I was walking the path train, I noticed he was walking like right behind me, get to the platform, and he was there. He also was going to the front of the car, so I struck up a conversation with him, and that would end up being one of the first of probably 200-300 subway rides we shared together. The season moved along, we got more friendly. We'd always meet up at the radio show, and then, go into Manhattan, and then go our separate ways, because I didn't live in Brooklyn back then. And then I remember one night in March that year, my Nets trip gave me 2 seats, lower level, and I asked a few friends on the concourse. They all had seats, so I saw Robert walking to the escalator, and I caught him before that long escalator ride up, and I said, "You want to sit downstairs?" And that also began the first of probably 200 to 300 games we watched together. And one thing Robert was actually good for as well, Robert's mentality was free is good. He always liked free games, so he was actually very good at getting people giveaways. If you gave him a ticket, said, "Robert, get me the jersey," he'll get you the jersey. And other people, some of whom have tuned in tonight, have actually used his procurement services. He also helped me become the sports fan I am today. He actually taught me a lot about baseball scoring, which I knew a good amount about, but he taught me more. And his scoring actually paid off at one point, because in November 2019, I began serving as a public address announcer for the New York Harlem Underdogs of the American Basketball Association. The team overlooked a lot of positions, one of which was scorer. And Robert was on his way to the game, and I remember the owner telling me, "Do you know anyone who could score?" I'm like, "Perfect. I got the guy." Call Robert. I said, he's in the subway, so I have to leave him a message. "Great news. Got you a nice free ticket. You're going to sit at a nice table. There's going to be a book in front of you. Please fill that out, because you're the scorer for the game." NYU baseball, NYU hockey, my connection to that is because of Robert. In fact, I always got NYU baseball to wish him a happy birthday. He had gone to Brooklyn Polytechnic Institute, which became NYU Poly, so that's how he became an NYU alum. A lot of people touched on some of the road trips, so I'm going to list some of them. New Britain, Bridgeport, Hartford, Connecticut, Lakewood, Somerset, Trenton, Augusta, and Montclair, New Jersey. And then in the state of New York, Hudson Valley, Newburgh, New York, Albany, Binghamton, and Central Islip. So whenever I wanted to do a trip, first call was Robert. He also had, as people know, he had quite a collection of sports shirts and hats. I was in his apartment a few times, and he had, I just eyeballing it, I'm thinking 400 to 500 T-shirts and probably 300 or 400 hats. In fact, he was very nice to loan them to 2 friends of mine, some Farmingdale gear, because they need to get into a yeshiva university game. So, he was never the center of attention the way others were, but he's up there in the list of the New York City sports superfans. And it was interesting because, Robert was old enough to be my father. And a lot of ways, he actually reminded me of my grandfather. Very similar mindsets, both very educated men. And they also had the same definition of what was actually a vegetable, and that was a potato. So everyone who knew Robert always knew he liked his French fries with ketchup. And as Mark said, we spoke on the phone a lot. Thank God for the unlimited calling plans because we were not in the same network. And also, Robert actually taught me a lot of the geography of Brooklyn when I moved in 2012.
By the way,
another thing I really like this year got to me. The last 5-6 years, we always got Thanksgiving dinner together. We are not turkey people. He didn't like turkey. I didn't like turkey. So in I would go to him to various restaurants, whether it was Tex-Mex or just regular meat or even one year pizza. 2019, a whole bunch of us got together. My camera's on. Okay.
You now.
Is it on?
It's frozen.
Okay, so
maybe others do. I don't know.
And then of course every Thanksgiving I'd ask him what time getting up in the morning to fight over the $150 50-inch TV. So Robert was someone I turned to for help and advice a lot, and I always felt like I was able to help him out even before the coronavirus. If he needed help picking out a TV, I would go with him. Okay. Hopefully it's working. It seems my internet's good, but one of the times that I showed Robert a very good trick is when you're dealing with customer service. He got a replacement phone from AT&T, and it was a 90s phone. I don't know where they got it. So I showed him how to call up and get a better phone. But the other time I always felt Robert was really there for me was in 2015. Sarah was not doing well. She was in the hospital. And I also was dealing with something similar as my grandfather had fallen and broke his hip. Basically at times I was really in the mood out of it, and Robert, with Sarah's issues. So something like that. Sarah, my grandfather, passed away the same to my father, who he did one of what I consider the ultimate spare keys. So I'm gonna give me 1 second. Yeah, yes, Rabbi.
Daniel.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to hear you.
Yeah.
Do you want to play the video and then maybe you want to say a couple of things afterwards? Play the video.
Yeah. Okay. If the video doesn't come in, you could play it. So let me try getting it to work.
Play it on my end, or whatever you'd like. I just need it to come in
All
very
right.
clearly. It's an important video.
Yeah. Let's try it on your end to be safe.
All right.
So.
Okay, so this is a very special video. I really want to thank Daniel for doing this, putting it together. I'm going to share.
And thank you everyone who sent in photos. Robert was not a guy who had social media. He wasn't going to go around taking selfies.
That's right. All right, just give me a second to get that video. It's right over here. I need to share. Oh, here. Okay. Okay, I think you're all going to enjoy this. Really encapsulates much of the life that Robert led, very meaningful life. And not just in recent years, but we have pictures of Robert with his wonderful family as well. So I want you to take this all in. Please, if everybody could mute and direct your attention very carefully to this video.
Before we start, if you're listening on phone, we will have this video available. So, and if you miss part of it, we can send it out to people.
Very good. Are you ready?
Yes, let me mute.
Okay. Okay, great.